This is the crash part 2. What we talked about last time, this is going to be a short and sweet lecture here, but what we talked about last time was the causes of the crash, the over-speculation, the immediate problems it caused, the Florida land bubble, buying on the margin, hysteria, agricultural, okay, and then the immediate problems was obviously the unemployment. That's what most people remember about the crash and the depression. We got the gross national product dropping almost in two, farmer foreclosures, bank closures. So the question is, what is going to be the president's response to this? President Herbert Hoover believed that, he didn't believe in direct relief. Okay, he didn't think that our government should step in or should have the right to step in, and that's called rugged individualism. So we start to see some nicknames pop up. Okay, one of the most famous ones was Hoover blankets. And these were newspapers wrapped around people's bodies sleeping on the park benches. Another one were Hoover pigs. And the Hoover pigs were squirrels. People started to hunt and eat more and more squirrels, even in the cities. That's different, although squirrels do taste good. And then the Hoovervilles. Okay, these are shanty towns, and here's a picture of one. Shanty town is basically their shacks made out of anything they can get their hands on. And these start popping up because people have lost their homes. So they start living in these little shanties near the cities. We haven't seen that before. And then my favorite one are the Hoover flags. And the Hoover flags were, stand up. And if you're wearing jeans or pants, pull your pockets out so they're inside out. Those are Hoover flags, showing that you don't have anything. You don't have any money. Okay? So he starts taking a big hit for the Depression. In actuality, is the Depression his fault? No. Okay? But it's his administration. That's how things work in our country. He's going to take the hit. He's going to take the blame. He believed in no direct relief or rugged individualism, did not believe in welfare or handouts. He tried to do, the one thing that he really did was the high tariff, which we talked about last lecture, the Hawley-Smoot tariff. But like I said, it actually worked against us because now other countries will take action against our goods as well. Okay, the tariff was to put a tax on imports so people will buy American goods in America. But the problem was a lot of our markets were elsewhere too. And in 2 years' time, 25 other nations take actions to put tariffs on American goods. And on top of it, there's a European depression too. So people aren't buying goods anyway. Hoover did not want much government interference because he, like many people, feared socialism and big government. They didn't want to invite the government in to take these things over. And you still hear about these things today. Okay, you still hear about big government, and that's a huge issue in this last administration with how much say should the government have, how much say should the government have in business and things like that. And that's always going to be an issue in America. And honestly, your opinion depends on which side of the line you're on. The bonus, this is a terrible situation, the bonus army. Remember when we were talking about the World War I veterans wanting more money, they wanted a bonus, they wanted more benefits. Okay, the World War I veterans were now protesting this. Okay, they had a bonus that was approved, and they wanted it now. So they were in Washington, D.C. protesting that they wanted their pension bonus paid immediately. They called themselves the Bonus Army. And here they are protesting outside Washington, D.C. and they built up little shanties around D.C. And all of a sudden they see the modern army walking in, and they said, oh, this is great. They're going to support the old World War I veterans. They were wrong. Okay. Instead, the army was there to force them out. They burned down their shanties. That's what this picture is of a shanty burning. In the background, you see the dome, the Capitol building in the background. Obviously, did not look very good when you're sending the army in to push out your World War I veterans. Okay, so not good for Hoover. Reconstruction Finance Corporation. Okay, they'll provide loans to businesses, and he set aside nearly $2 million for this, but nowhere near enough. Okay, it just wasn't enough to kickstart things. Hoover will sign a bill that gave $45 million to feed livestock during this time, and then ask me how much he gave to feed the American people. That's a big fat zero. Okay, and that's not going to look good for Hoover. So he is the one that really takes a lot of the blame for the Great Depression. And I'm just going to tell you, it's not all his fault. A lot of these things were set in motion way before he even took office. But that's how it works. Okay, it's his administration. When he dealt with it, there wasn't a lot of relief. Now, in all actuality, the way the economy is in days like back then, especially, and even today, there's going to be ups and downs. Okay, if we would have followed Hoover's course of action, things would have gotten better. Okay, it just depends on how long you want to wait is the problem. And people wanted and needed relief at that moment. They wanted it now. And so that's going to lead us into our next president, which is going to be FDR. And he's going to win the presidency because he's promising these things immediately and to give instant relief to the people that need it, and that's what they wanted. Unfortunately, a matter of opinion here, depending on where you sit, a lot of these things that were supposed to be meant for temporary support are still in act today, and our government has to pay for those things. We just never, once they got into our government system, they just never left, which has caused a lot of problems for paying for those things today, which we'll discuss starting in the next lecture. Okay, so you can obviously tell that Hoover is not going to be a popular guy. Okay, he came in during a time of prosperity. His campaign motto was "a chicken in every pot," meaning a time of prosperity. He signed the treaty, which was the highest treaty in American history at that point, and those are seen as mistakes at this juncture. So we're gonna stop there. Our next lecture will be on FDR. So nice and short lecture for you. 5 Q&A. Oh, forgot these pictures. Here's a picture of Seattle. Here are those shanty towns. Okay, that's what it looks like today. Here's some more. This is in New York. People literally built those out of anything. And there's Herbert Hoover. And you can see the long unemployment line, the soup line, feeding them the Depression, private industry. Post World War I, it says Hoovervilles. And that is it. All right. Stay classy, Vandalia.